Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Andrew Watt, District Club Growth Director. I hope that you're all well this evening. I'm sorry, but we are experiencing some technical difficulties at this end, on the organizer end, and we're trying to get them straightened out. Uh, as I am able to, I will provide you with additional information. But at the moment, we don't seem to be able to get August on the line, and we're trying to figure out why that is, and I will be with you shortly. If you have any questions, you should be able to raise your hand. If you have concerns, you can leave a note for me in chat, and I will try to answer those questions as they come up. And I'm going to get back to trying to get August online. Thank you very much for your patience.
I can take over from this point.
Okay. I think you are now.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Ladies and gentlemen, your Chief Judge, August Wolf, is now on the line. Thank you very much for your patience, and I'm going to turn it over to her at this point.
Thank you, Andrew. Good evening, everyone. This is August Wolf. I am your District 53 Chief Judge. How many people do I have on the line today? Oh, I've got a good bunch. Excellent. Well, I'm glad you could all join me this evening. I'm going to go through a PowerPoint slide, and then I'll show you some resources, and then we'll open up the floor for questions. Can everybody see my slide? I don't know why this is not coming up. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to show my screen and it's... Okay, excellent. All right, so let me put up this PowerPoint slide. So welcome all to contest planning for area directors and division directors. Please note my email address so that when you have questions and need some help, that's the easiest and quickest way to get a hold of me. Unless it's an emergent issue, I typically answer emails as soon as I get them or within a day. Okay, so I would take that email address down. So this is a very brief agenda. We're going to go through some facts, the references where you can find all of this information, and some references that I've developed, a quick timeline, some tips and tricks, and then we'll open the floor for questions. Let's look at the facts of the matter. The district has laid out the schedule for the club contests. Right now, clubs should be performing their club level contests throughout the end of January. Starting February 1st till the end of February is the area level contest. The division level contest will take place in March, and then the district level will take place at the spring conference in May. The two contests that we will be running are the International Speech Contest and the Tall Tales Contest. As we go through this material, there are 3 references that you can freely use. The first is the Toastmasters the contest rulebook, which is available online at toastmasters.org. The District 53 website also has a copy of the contest rulebook, as well as materials, guides, briefings, a script, and all kinds of information that you can use. And then, of course, I'm at the bottom. Feel free to call me or email me or text me if you have any questions. So when organizing a contest, the best thing to do is to lay out this timeline. I can speak from personal experience that this is the order that you need to get things organized. The first thing you need to do is get your location, date, and time set up. Now, why do I say this first? Because a lot of venues require reservations. You need to get this lined up first. Also, you'll need to pass that information on from the division to the area to the club so they can plan when their contestants move up the chain, they need to plan on where to go and when to be there. The second thing you need to do is plan your contest chair and chief judge. Contest chair is typically either the area director for an area level contest or a division director for a division level contest. They can be any paid member, but it's typically the area or division director at your level. You also want to line up a chief judge. Now for the area, the chief judge can be anybody that meets the judging eligibility, but for the division level, there are certain requirements as to who can be the chief judge. They cannot be a member of a competing club, etc. There's a number of criteria. Next is your contest master. They will be performing as an MC or a Toastmaster of the day for the contest. You will get your contestants as they move up the chain from the notification of contest winners sheets that are sent to you from the club and from the area levels. Be sure to fill out as many contestants as possible, because if the top one can't compete, there's the opportunity for the second place winner to compete, etc. Next, you line up your judges, and you'll need to follow the rules in the rule book. And then your functionaries, which just need to be paid Toastmasters, so there's no specific requirement for them other than to be a paid Toastmaster. And then the last thing is everything else. So what does everything else mean? Everything else means, do you want refreshments at your contest? Do you need refreshments? How many people? How do you want to set up the room? Do you want tables? Do you want it theater style, etc., etc.? So that's everything else, and that can be done last. But the first thing that needs to be done is that location, date, and time. Let me tell you that if you don't have your location, date, and time set up, you're a little bit behind the 8 ball, and we'll have to get that moving quickly. It's time now for a pop quiz. Now, I'm probably going to skip this unless you would like me to run this. Basically, when I did this as a live version at the latest deck meeting, we had a great time with this. And we had a ton of questions answered and a ton of questions asked. So here we have our tips and tricks and questions. Remember, there's no stupid questions, so ask away. And I bet there's at least one other person in this room who has the same question. So ask. This is a very brief presentation because I anticipate a lot of questions. Does anybody out there have questions today?
We do have a question about besides food and maybe an insurance certification, what else might be included in the everything else?
That's great, actually. So everything else means, how do you want your room set up? Do you want it to be theater style? Where would you like the table with the awards? Where would you like to let the lectern? Do you want a registration table? Where do you want that to be? It's, like I said, it's refreshments. It's everything else. Who would you like to be at your registration table? It's pretty much everything else that makes a nice contest. Do you want like a microphone? Do any of your contestants need audio-visual equipment such as a projector or anything? That stuff kind of goes into that bucket. Does that help? It's basically everything else that hasn't been covered by making sure you have all the people lined up to run the contest. The contest needs to have those certain roles filled by the rule book, but there's nothing in the rule book that says you have to have food, and there's nothing in the rule book that says to set up the room a certain way. So that's all up to you. The number of judges, the functionaries, who can be chief judge, who's the contest master, all of that has rules and guidelines in the rule book. So everything else is everything that doesn't have a rule per se, but something that can be used to make a pleasant contest. Any other questions? So actually,
None have
let's go
come
back.
in so far.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to pose some questions, and I will have you see if you. Oh, I have a question. Hold on. What are typical issues that arise from my experience? That's a question from one of our attendees. So when I designed the pop quiz, I designed it because of some issues that I have seen in previous contests. Probably the biggest one I've seen are the number and the qualifications for judges. Judges have a certain requirement that, and this is at the area, division, and district levels, they have a requirement that they not only need to be a member in good standing from a club in good standing, but they also have to have 6 speeches or 2 levels in pathways completed. but they also have to be present at the contest. So that's 3 pieces of criteria. As you get through the area and division and district level, there are more judges required. And the ruling is that for an area contest, you need to have an equal number of judges from each club or a minimum of 5. So what does that mean exactly? That means if you have 4 clubs in your area, then you need to have 1 or 2 or 3 judges from each club or a minimum of 5. That doesn't mean that you can have 4 judges from 2 different clubs. It means an equal number from each club or 5. For the division level, it's an equal number from each area or 7. And the district level is an equal number from each division or 9. 9? I think so. In any event, that is the hardest rule that I've had to explain, and I've had to almost invalidate contests because the judges they didn't conform to that rule. So that is probably an issue that I see a lot of for contests, are the number and distribution of judges. Some other issues I've seen are that the ballots are not filled out completely or signed. That's probably it, though, is really with the judges. The judges and the ballots are the biggest issues that I'm finding. So I have another question. Is it each club that has a contestant, if you have a club that is not competing, do they still need to provide a judge? That's a very good question. So the question is not whether they're competing, it's a question if the club is in good standing. If a club is in an area and the club is in good standing, they count. If the club is not in good standing, then they don't count. So if you have, let's say you have an area with 4 clubs, but only 3 are in good standing, then you would need either the same amount from each of those clubs, same amount of judges from each of those clubs, or 5 minimum. So it's only the clubs in good standing that count. Does that answer your question, I hope? So the next question is, what happens if you cannot fill the roles? That's a great question as well, because I have seen that as well. So there's a number of things you can do, and Toastmasters says that really it should be 1 person per role. But to be honest, I know what it's like to try to put together a very, very small area contest or not have people show when they say they're going to show. So there's a few roles that you can kind of double up on if need be. The rule book says that for area contests and division contests, you need to have 2 timers and 3 ballot counters. Because timers and ballot counters, their jobs don't mingle, meaning that they're not being used at the same time, you could in fact double up on that if you absolutely had to. You could double up as a ballot counter and a sergeant at arms because, again, so these roles are independent of each other. So if you had to double up on functionaries, you could. It's not ideal. Toastmasters says that you shouldn't, but there's nothing that says that you can't. You cannot, however, be a contestant and a judge in the same contest. Also keep in mind that these are 2 separate contests, even though typically they are on the same night. So you could be a contestant in one contest and a judge in the other, and that is okay, provided you meet all other eligibility requirements. That's fine, because it's technically two separate contests. I also said, I said this at the deck meeting, that if you're really desperate, let me know and I will help you find somebody that can help. Any other questions? Let's see. All right, so let's go back to our pop quiz here. So let's talk about contestants. Oops, back. Let's talk about contestants. Now, does anybody know the only two ways that a contestant, actually 3 ways a contestant can be disqualified? Oh, I have a question. I'll answer my question. So contestants can be disqualified based on originality, eligibility, and timing, and that's it. And that's it. That's the only 3 ways that a contestant can be disqualified. Okay, so I have a question. I guess I'm thinking if I have 5 clubs in my area, only 4 have club contests and the 5th does not. All are in good standing. Would I need to get a judge from the 5th, or can I get 2 judges from each of the 4 that are participating, which would cover the 5 minimum? Actually, because all of your clubs are in good standing, they all count. So you would have to have either the equal number of judges from each of those 5 clubs or 5 minimum. Either way is fine. Now, I realize that 5th club is not participating, but they are still in good standing, so they still count as part of your area. That also means that for the ruling of the district, where in an area, if an area has 4 or less clubs, they can send 5 people to the, or I'm sorry, they can send 2 people to the area contest. That also means that because you have 5 clubs in good standing, you can only send 1 person from the club level to the area contest. So it would behoove that 1 club to participate, or at least send somebody to the area contest. Let's see. Did that answer? I hope that answered your question. Let's see, I have another question here. The 3rd reason for disqualification. So there's eligibility. So a contestant must be eligible to compete. That means that they must be a Toastmaster in good standing from a club in good standing. For the international contest, they must have, there's a minimum number of speeches or a minimum levels and pathways that they must have completed. They can be disqualified on originality, meaning if their speech is 25% or less of original material, or if they are over or under the required time limit for speeches. That's 3 reasons that they could be disqualified and not allowed to move on, or not allowed to compete. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, let's talk about judges. Now, we talked briefly that one of the issues I see are either not enough judges, or they're not following that equal number from each club. Don't forget, you still need to have a chief judge, and you still have to have a super secret tiebreaker judge known only to the chief judge. So that's on top of that minimum 5 or etc. that fits. If for any reason you have any questions as to if you have enough judges, if your judges are eligible, there's a number of ways that you can confirm judge eligibility. So the first thing I would do is make sure you have enough, and if you have a question about how many you need to have, please send me an email. I'll be happy to get back to you. If you have a question on eligibility, there's a number of ways you can check. The first way is to use your eligibility checker, which is available on Toastmasters.org. The second way is to let me know. I have the information for all of the members in the district, and I'm happy to let you know if they're eligible. And the third way is to email Toastmasters International. Just send them an email confirming a judge's or contestant's eligibility, and they will get back to you. They're not as quick as you'd like them to be. I can tell you that I've had to chase them down when they didn't get back to me within 2 weeks, but they do provide a very clear answer whether somebody is eligible or not. Okay. I have a question. It says, also, does the 30-second leeway each way apply for contest speeches? Well, yes and no. With the exception of the table topics contest, there is a 30-second leeway on each end, meaning a speech, like the international speech, which is a 5 to 7 minute speech, it's acceptable to be 4.5 minutes to 7.5 minutes. Anything under 4.5 or over 7.5 is disqualified. Table topics has a minimum of 1 minute. That means that there is no 30-second leeway for under time. So it's a minimum of 1 minute and up to 2.5 minutes. So it's a 1 to 2 minute speech. They have a minimum of 1 minute, and they have a 30-second grace period after at the end. So that is the exception. But we don't have to worry about it for this contest because we're not doing table topics this time. Let's see. Okay. So and I'll continue to take questions, but I do want to show you a couple things that I have for you. So a couple things that I'd like to show you is, first thing, this is the Toastmasters International Rulebook. It has Mohammed on the cover. He was the International Speech Contestant World Championship of Public Speaking winner last year in Vancouver. So this is the most current version. This is the one you want to use for your contest. Please read it, and again, if you have any questions, please let me know. The rulebook is available on the District 53 website and Toastmasters International. This is the contestant briefing. This is for the contest chair or contest master to brief the contestants prior to the contest. Oh, come on. There we go. So this is basically the rulebook line by line, tailored to talk to the contestants. It talks about rules, it talks about eligibility, it's a whole list of things, but this is comprehensive so that you can basically read this to your contestants. It makes briefing, I think, complete and easy for the contest master and or contest chair. They don't have to remember everything. It's all on this document. Similarly, I have one for the functionaries. There's a section here for judges, a section for timekeepers, a section for ballot counters, and a section for sergeant-at-arms. So this is all available for you. This is on the District 53 website. Go ahead and download it. You can share it. You can send it to friends, etc. I just ask that my name remain on the bottom. Also available to you on the District 53 website is a script. Sorry, I thought I pulled that up. I guess I didn't. This is the speech contest script. Rev C is the most current. I'm currently working on the next revision with the next rulebook. So again, this is the script, and you can read this word for any of the contests that we have. Again, this is for the International Speech Contest and the Tall Tales. They are in here, I promise, but it gives you line by line of what to read and what the chief judge reads and the rules, and it gives you space to fill in contestants, speech titles, etc. So let's go back to the District 53. You don't want to read my email. Let's go back to here. Any other questions so far? So again, if you have any questions, the best thing to do is to grab that email address that you see in front of you. That is my email address. I'm happy to help you. So just as a note, the first thing you need to do is get your location, date, and time. Please, please, please put that on the website, the District 53 website, as I am planning to attend all division level contests, or as many that I can get to. So a lot of them are not quite scheduled yet. So if you have not filled out that sheet, please do so soon. If you are finding you're struggling for judges or struggling for functionaries, let me know. I will assist you where I can. Any other questions today? Please ask. I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have. Oh, I have a question here. Who validates contestant eligibility? So again, you can do this. You can do this one of three ways. Toastmasters International, and let me pull that up, has the eligibility checker. As an area director or division director, you have the ability to go on the checker and find, just put that person's name in. Let me show you where that is. So once you get to Toastmasters International, you want to log in. You want to go to events. I'm sorry, events, where are you? Here it is, speech contest under Leadership Central. Okay, and if you can scroll down, I'm looking for it. You might need to go to Club Central or District Central. Here we go. Eligibility Assistant under Club Administration or District Administration. So all you would need to do is put in here the member ID or the last name. And I'm going to make this real simply and check myself. Say search. Here we go. So this shows that I am a member of good standing as a paid member, and the club is in good standing under club status. So this is the quick way to validate contestant eligibility, but you need to be signed in and you need to go to either District Central or Club Central, depending on what level contest you're checking for. If you have somebody from outside your area or club as a functionary, you can always have the division or the district folks check, or you can email me and I will check, or you can email Toastmasters International. Hopefully that answers your question. These are great questions, by the way. Please ask because I love having questions. Okay. So let me show you also where you can find contest materials. Let's go back to speech contests. Now, if you are a paid member and you have logged into Toastmasters International, all of the contest materials are free. So you can come here, grab that speech contest rulebook, or you can go to any of these contests. So this is the trick. Go to speech contest materials and shop now. This will take you to the speech contest kits. If you click on one, you can scroll down. This is everything in the kit. So this rule books, eligibility and originality forms, etc., etc. If you are signed in, you can click on digital file, which means it will allow you to download all of this material for free onto your computer, phone, tablet, whatever you like. Now you can tell, see this, it downloaded it for me. I've actually have this already, but again, this is welcome. You can grab all this stuff for nothing as long as you've signed in. This is also available on the District 53 website for download. Any other questions? Okay. I'm glad that you're all here. I'm glad that you came with great questions. I know there was one question that came up at the deck meeting, which I want to address briefly, and that is areas and divisions who have lost clubs or gained clubs. So the rule is 8 weeks prior to the start of the contest is kind of the deadline. So in our case, for areas that have gained clubs, if they have chartered the clubs prior to 8 weeks before the start of the club contest. So for District 53, that means 8 weeks prior to December 1st. So that's about October 1st, give or take a couple of days. If the clubs have chartered before October 1st, then they count. So an area that may have had 4 at the beginning of the year, but as of October 1st has 6, that means they have 6 clubs, and therefore that rule for the district about sending 2 from each club to the area, etc., doesn't apply. They have 6 clubs. Now, if for some reason an area has lost clubs or a division has lost clubs or whole areas, it's all about how many numbers are in good standing at the beginning of December, beginning of our contest season. So that's how it's counted. If a club is not in good standing, then it doesn't count. Are there any other questions? Okay, I'm going to put my email address up one more time, because if you need me, that's how to get a hold of me. And you can ask any question, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can, hopefully within 24 hours. Okay, thank you all for joining. I am so glad you're here. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to help. And good contest season. Good luck to you. I will talk to you soon. Thank you very much.